Hey guys, welcome back to Musings of Mavri, where we are here today with Tensura episode 9. So, last episode, we finally see Rimuru's human form, which he obtained by essentially eating Shizu. Speaking of which, Shizu apparently died out of some reason or another. Probably her life expectancy was at its near its end, or the fact that because Rimuru pulled Ifrit or consumed Ifrit out of Shizu, so she was probably dependent on that fire spirit or whatnot. Anyways, I hope it's explained a little bit more because so far it is super confusing. I did not even know that Shizu was in danger of dying, to be honest. So her death was completely out of nowhere. And is she going to remain dead for the remainder of the anime, or is she going to be reincarnated or revived? I don't know. I'm assuming she will because she seems to be a major character. Still. Anyways, what we did get out of that was one, Rimuru's human form, and two, a purpose for him to essentially do other stuff, right? Leave the village, try to find the demon lord, try to make contact with human civilizations to learn more about the demon lord. So it seems that even though right now we're already in episode 9, the story is finally going to start progressing. And let's see what is going to happen, because last episode, we left on a cliffhanger where it seems that somebody is going to launch an attack on Rimuru's Goblin Village. So let's see what happens here. Okay, we skip the opening and we will begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Okay, Attack of the Ogres. I thought last episode they mentioned orcs. Or is it not going to be the same people who are attacking? Well, that's what you have when you have capable subordinates. So what's the important thing you want to do? Wait, I thought you had clothes. That's interesting. Can't you just ask the sage? Yeah. I wonder how long it takes for him to analyze something. Unisex. So he has neither, yeah, no gender at all. Well, that makes sense. You are a slime. Oh. Oh? This kind of looks like Leon. What? Isn't that nice? Oh, because he's in human form, so he can taste? You want to, like, test it out first? It's gonna end with him discovering that he still can't taste, right? Oh, so it does. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Again, I'm wondering if it's the case within the light novels that when he's actually doing all those analytic stuff, it'll actually be listed out in text form, all the skills and whatnot. Black Flame. Okay, so who are these guys? The ogres? Okay. So what's gonna happen now? Yeah, they look more like Oni, not ogres. You know, you don't even really know what their capabilities are. Wait, how? Ooh, damn. Okay, now that's what I was looking for. Young master. Okay, so ogres. Yeah, okay. Yeah, how does he look like an orc? No, it's pretty obvious that he isn't phased by this. He totally looks like yeah, he totally looks like a monster, you know? One of those boss monsters. Oh, sorry. He's impervious to fire. But what about his clothes? Black flame? Ooh. No, that one was okay. It's not like he completely destroyed a mountain. Well, at least somebody has some intelligence here. Is he gonna turn into slime? So there's... Okay. Did they actually get the hunt? Okay, there we go. Oh, and he's gonna name them all? Alright, see you guys after the ending. So, that was episode 9 of Tensura, and with that, we're caught up to the main series, and hopefully we can continue to roll these out as they are released each week. So, in this episode, it seems that they did not explain any more in regards to the Shizu situation, so I'm still a little bit at a loss for what to feel or what the whole deal is, like why did she die or whatnot. But I guess moving the story along, they basically broke down other parts, like explaining how Rimuru now has the ability to transform, as well as some unique abilities. So let's go through that first. So it seems that Rimuru is now able to, at will, obtain a human form, and he can even clone his abilities and whatnot in that form as well. So so he can clone lots of different figures of him, and he can still use all his other abilities. Now, whether or not his clones are able to fight on the same level as him, we don't know yet. But judging from what happened when he fought Ifrit, it seems that the clones do have some level of fighting capabilities. So that seems to be a pretty good power to have, and I wonder if it's going to play a very prominent role, because there have been some series, fantasy series, that utilize clones a lot. So it's basically how the main character can do lots of different things at the same time, right? He just basically clones a lot of himself, and then so they each go off to do their own thing. And that is how you can have a one-person army, even though you're only one person. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes out. But judging from how the series is going so far, I'm going to assume that this is going to be more rely a lot on your allies and friends type of setting. So the other interesting part is the new unique skill he got called Degenerate. Now, I'm thinking that maybe this is the other world's. This is part of the package of what you get when you're summoned from the other worlds. In Rimuru's case, his ability is Predator, and so I'm assuming that Shizu's, even though she came to this world through a slightly different manner than all the other worlders, they didn't mention that people who are summoned from the other world have special abilities, right? So I'm assuming that this Degenerate is part of what she got as being a summon. So this is a very interesting ability in itself, and combined with Predator, it seems to make it seems to have an even bigger impact, because think about it. Predator in itself is very OP, right? It essentially allows you to copy any single skill that you come across by analyzing it, dissecting it, and then you can absorb it as your own. But the limitations of that is you can only get what is already available, right? It's always going to be a copy of a skill, and I'm not exactly sure on the workings, but maybe I think I read a comment by one of one of the viewers, where he said basically that the copied skill is not going to be at the same power level as the original. So in that case, that is going to be the limitation of Predator, right? So even if you copy a lot of skills, they're still copies. You're still not going to be as strong as the original. But Degenerate, however, it has the ability to combine lots of different abilities together to create an entirely new one. So this completely solves the problem of Rimuru's original restriction. Now he can copy lots and lots of different abilities, and these are basically the building blocks, right? And then he can then use these building blocks to combine and experiment and create all new different kinds of abilities. And we even see that a little bit within this episode with the visuals. So it shows how two skills were sort of like swirling together and then combining and then branching out into two different skills. I thought that was very game-like, actually. So it reminds me of some games where, again, you can try to mix different basic skills and essentially create an entirely new one, which has characteristics of each, but is an evolved version, right? So what this means is that now the possibilities for Rimuru are endless. He has an infinite skill set now. It's all dependent on his creativity and how many basic skills that he has to utilize. So, in other words, he's more OP now. If he wasn't OP before, he's even more OP now. Although this probably will take some time because he would need to experiment with it. And I'm assuming because this is in anime form, we're probably not going to see that much description of him doing these kinds of experiments. If this was in a light novel form or web novel form, sometimes entire chapters are dedicated to experimenting with these kinds of abilities. But here, probably he's just gonna do, okay, I simply learned this new skill. But it's to be expected, right? I already feel, even though I haven't read the source material yet, I already feel that there seems to be a lot of stuff that's been cut out up in this anime so far, and that is having an impact on how we viewers can perceive this anime, because lots of things are not explained, right? And speaking of which, I did kind of go ahead and check out a few chapters of the, I think it's the web novel, not the light novel. So basically, for any of you who don't know, normally these series go like this. So authors, they might release a web series, basically, of their novel, and then if it seems promising, a publisher will pick it up and translate and put it into a light novel form, where there will be physical books instead of just maybe a story put on a site or on a blog, right? And then eventually, if this light novel is very popular, then it can be adapted into manga and anime form. So in this case, I went and looked at the web novel version, not to actually see anything, because again, I don't want to be spoiled, but I just wanted to see if it follows the, I guess you can say, norms of fantasy works nowadays, where they will list all the skill sets in sort of like a summary page, or a summary at the end of every chapter. And lo and behold, that does happen with this series as well. And I really do wish that the anime could do something like that, where we basically have a summary of all the different titles and skills and anything other relevant, maybe key items or something. Or I know that in a lot of different fantasy series, they even put their levels and their max HP, max MP, or some even actually put all the stats, like, your classic game stats like strength and agility, vitality, whatnot, within those summary pages. It just gives you a better understanding of the current power level of a character, especially in relation to others. But again, it's just a minor gripe, but I feel like it would make things a lot more easier if we could have this data on hand. Just maybe just throw up a summary page at the end of every anime episode for maybe 3 seconds or something. Like, how hard can that be? It's just text over a background, right? So that would have, how can I say it? Like, it's a quality of life change, even though this isn't a game. I feel like that would be a good quality of life improvement of watching these kinds of series, because you have to understand, a lot of fantasy works rely, I mentioned this in the very first episode, a lot of fantasy works rely on the world building, the world setting, and those kinds of things, and a lot of effort is put into setting the tone of that. So especially in this case where it's not a continuous movie, right? It's episodic. So there's no reason why we can't have this kind of summary within each episode, so we can know the current status of our protagonist. So, anyways, that was a little rant there, but I just feel that would have greatly improved the watching experience. So, so that was regarding the skills part and whatnot, and immediately within the next scene we see ogres. So, just quick pointing out about the ogres is, I'm guessing that this work is trying to define a lot of the norms that we have regarding monsters, because goblins so far seem to be, well, even though they aren't named, but they seem like harmless, I would even say cute little creatures, who do have a fairly, it's primitive society, right? But it's still society. And then ogres in this case, so in typical fantasy works, ogres are depicted as basically brutes, right? Orcs are more humanoid, and they would typically have more social norms, similar to humans, except it might be more crude or rudimentary, whereas ogres are generally viewed as dumb brutes, basically. But here it seems that the ogres are very human-like, so, and it seems that they also have a good societal workings as well, because, well, obviously two of them seem to be of royalty. Like, one is called a princess, and then since the princess calls the red-haired dude her brother, then that would make him a prince, right? Or maybe even a king, who knows? And then since he also has this old guy with him who calls him young master, so there is obviously a sense of social structure, of hierarchy, in this world's ogres. So it seems that this series is going a place where most of the different races would have, they're more humanized, basically. It's not just a case of monsters. Although in this case, the ogres also seem to be like, oh, you are a monster, show your true self. So I'm wondering whether it's just a case where in this series ogres are regarded as one of the higher forms or higher levels of monsters, if you will. So more akin to elves and dwarves and humans and whatnot. But I just thought that was interesting. And also their design. Their design does not look like ogres at all. They look more like oni. Oni are typical Japanese fantasy work monsters. They basically mean demons or devils, and they always have that little point on their head. In fact, a lot of demon lords come from, in a lot of works, they come from ogres. So I'm wondering if this is going to be of relevance somehow. But anyways, like I said, it doesn't. Even though they're called ogres, I don't think they really look like ogres. They look more like oni. And so they fight, and then we again see Rimuru making easy work of them. Although, again, I don't know how to take this, because I don't know what exactly Rimuru's power level is, and I don't even know if the ogres are actually strong or not, right? I'm assuming right now that that they are strong, and Rimuru is just completely overpowered, right? And I'm judging this because he was able to defeat Ifrit, who seems to be a fairly high-level fire spirit. So I'm going to say that Rimuru is probably in the higher, how can I say it, in the higher levels currently, compared to normal adventures and whatnot. He seems to already have the abilities and skills and power of somebody who's near the top tier, basically. And he shows a lot of his abilities again, and I guess in a way this kind of sums up feeds into my point of there having a summary page. So maybe this is the anime's way of providing a summary page, like providing this kind of fight and him using all these different kinds of abilities, it refreshes us and tells us, okay, so this is Rimuru the Slime, and he currently has these abilities. He has the Silk thing, he has the Paralysis Breath, and he has the Ironfication, he has the Black Thunder, he has the Black Flame, and we also know he has the Water Blades, right? So, I guess those are his abilities for now. Again, I would really like if there was a simple fact sheet, stat page, so I can see what his current status is. But yeah, anyways, that seems to be that's my summary for now. And for next episode, so we're kind of left on a cliffhanger again, right? So they were talking about an orc attacking their village or kingdom or whatnot, the ogres. And this probably ties into a little bit last episode, where there's this mysterious dude going around and giving names to orcs and maybe using them as his subordinates to, well, we don't know what that dude's ulterior motive is, but it's definitely to cause some pain and destruction within the forest. And also, judging by the ending of this episode, where he's like, how do I call you? But we don't have names. I'm going to assume that he's going to name all of them. Like, that much is pretty much guaranteed, especially because these ogres also appear in the openings and endings, so they seem to be important recurring characters. So, I think it's a safe bet to say that they are probably going to be named and become Rimuru's companions. Okay, and so I think that about sums up what I have to say right now. Let me know if I missed anything in the comments below, and if not, I'll see you guys when the next episode drops. So again, this has been Mavri. See you guys, and bye-bye.